Welcome to the Bobby O Show. My name is Bob O'Potzner. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Collins and Hannafin in Danbury, Connecticut. I'm here today to present a show to you with a wonderful guest, my law partner, attorney John Bowser, who's with my law firm, our Arfa law firm. And we're going to talk today about Law Day. Law Day is celebrated on May 1 of each year for the last 67 some odd years. And the Danbury Bar Association, of which John Bowser was the former president, has its annual tradition, which is celebrated on the first Friday in May, which will be happening coming up in the near future. I also was in charge of Law Day for 4 years as part of the Bar Association. John's one of the co-chairs of Law Day. We're going to talk to you about Law Day, especially this year, because if you follow the news at all, if you talk to anyone at all, the rule of law and the importance of protecting our legal system as part of the judiciary, the third branch of a co-equal branch of government, it's particularly important this year. John Bowser, shalom.
Hi, Bob. Thank you for having me.
John, tell us a little bit about your background, aside from your involvement in the Law Day program, before we get into the discussion for today.
Sure, I'd be happy to. I am an attorney, as you said, at Collins Hannafin, and a partner at our law firm. I've been practicing law for approximately 15 years, and I work predominantly here in the area of civil litigation. I'm a Ridgefield High School graduate, a UConn undergraduate recipient, and received my law degree from Roger Williams in Rhode Island. So I'm a local hometown boy and very proud of it.
From a great family. Tell us a little bit about why did you become a lawyer?
Oh, why did I become a lawyer? Well, because the sight of blood made me squeamish, so med school was right out. No, I became a lawyer because as I grew up, I cared a lot from a very young age about people who were underprivileged or who lacked the ability to give voice to their own concerns and their needs. That was something that always resonated strongly with me, and I always I took a particular dislike to what I perceived to be injustices or unfairnesses around me. And so I knew that I was always passionate about ensuring that people received, a fair say in their various issues.
And that's part of our ethical obligations. When we passed the bar exam and put our hands up to get sworn in as lawyers, protecting the rule of law and protecting people was a very significant part of practicing law. So why is it, John, that if we as lawyers are supposed to uphold our oaths and our duties pursuant to the canons of ethics, the Constitution, why do we celebrate Law Day?
Well, a lot of people, I think, would probably laugh if they heard that there were a bunch of lawyers getting together celebrating other lawyers. They would say, well, doesn't that happen every day, right? As lawyers, we go through a lot of, let's say, negative press, or at least, negative kind of civic ideas of what lawyers are and what they do. But Law Day celebrates not lawyers and their role in society, or at least not lawyers alone. Law Day celebrates the role that every individual in American society has when it comes to the rule of law. And it's something very easy to forget if it's been a long time since you took high school civics. But the concept of the rule of law is an agreement between individual people in society and between those societies and their government that governs how we all acknowledge and agree we will treat each other. So Law Day isn't just about lawyers going to court and objecting. Law Day is really the celebration of the idea that we are all in this together. It's a compact of laws that create our society. And it's easy to forget that a lot of times, particularly in today's environment.
John, before today's show, I looked at, as I always prepare for shows, and you and I had conversations about preparing for today's show. I went to the American Bar Association, and I looked in their website about Law Day, and I want to just read to you a paragraph that is on the ABA website. And I think people, especially all the lawyers, should read it again, because sometimes we forget, like in mathematics, the lowest common denominator, we forget why it is we became lawyers and what our duties are. And it's funny because polls that have been taken essentially say nobody seems to like lawyers, but everybody loves their own lawyer. Everyone wants their own lawyer because you want protection. When that day comes up, no matter who you are, something may happen and you need the protection of a lawyer who you can respect and like. And that, John, when we get to a little bit later, is why I'm so upset, and the ABA is so upset about the fact that our President Trump issued an executive order essentially prohibiting two of the very best law firms in the country from practicing law. And there's a court judge who said in federal court that's not right. But that's why protecting the law is important, and protecting lawyers is important, not for us, the lawyers, but for you, the people, we the people. In the ABA, it said the following about Law Day. Quote, the preamble to the Constitution boldly asserts that the framers established the Constitution as representatives of, quote, we the people in order to form a more perfect union. On this Law Day of 2025, we explore and renew our duties to one another, as John just said, to one another under the Constitution and our democratic norms. The Constitution establishes a framework for government that unites us as one citizenry through means such as our representative government, jury service, and a regular census. And through this commitment to our union, we each provide for the common good through government responses to national crises and national disasters, and through community and advocacy programs for students and adults, unquote. So, John, tell me what the Danbury Bar Association does to preserve and protect and honor Law Day.
So, historically, Law Day in Danbury is a pretty big celebration. Not only are the lawyers and members of the Danbury Bar Association involved, other non-members are involved, and we make sure that we extend that celebration to members of the public, to school children who want to learn more about their civic rights and civic duties, to members of courthouse staff, to members of the city administration, and to any individual who's a little more interested in learning about the interplay between themselves and their governments on the local level, regardless of what branch of government that is. Law Day in Danbury has typically taken the form of two separate celebrations, one of which is usually held. Law Day is always the last Friday in May. It's celebrated. Law Day itself nationally is actually celebrated always on May 1st, regardless of what day of the week that is. And I can get a little bit into the history there. But on the last Friday in May, we have Law Day by having a ceremony at the local Danbury Courthouse on White Street, in which attorneys, judges, court staff, and members of the public are all invited, where the mayor always reads out a proclamation discussing the theme of Law Day, which you just addressed, Bob, and acknowledging the role of the law in our society. Judges will also give some speeches, and then we acknowledge some local students. Always we acknowledge the winners of the local high school mock trial team, and for the last several years in a row, that winner has been Danbury's own Immaculate High School, and I'm proud to say that they are again. Congratulations to the whole Immaculate High School mock trial team.
And John, let me just stop you right there.
Sure.
Last year, Judge Tom Sadi, who's a Danbury resident, gave a very moving speech. And what you said about the two different portions, the morning portion of Law Day celebration is in the jury room. And Judge Sadi, who I did not know well, told about his story in the military service, et cetera. And in fact, after that, I had him on my show as part of the Lebanese American Club celebration. And he gave an amazing, moving story about his life in that regard. And also to mention about the mock trial competition. That's a high school competition where many, many high schools in the state participate. And students literally get a court case that they are provided, and they have a competition between judges, or in my case, they take some experienced litigators and have us judge the competition, and then you can move on through the state. And we did a TV show about that. And I'm doing a show upcoming with Immaculate High School. In fact, I met with the students who participated in Immaculate who got as far as the finals. And we're going to be doing a show in the next several weeks about Immaculate and about their role in the mock trial competition. So there's many activities that happen during Law Day celebration on the first the first Friday in May in Danbury, May 1st, but also the mock trial activity it starts several months ago. It's probably take a 4 or 5 month activity. So John, is there a guest speaker in the afternoon portion? What happens in the afternoon portion of the Danbury Bar Association celebration?
Sure. Thanks for asking. As you know, you've attended many of these events, but yes, in the afternoon, we typically have a luncheon which features a speaker who gives a brief discussion of a particular topic. We like to try and keep these topics specific to Danbury because for anyone who doesn't know, Danbury actually has a very rich judicial history. A lot of fascinating cases in the history of Connecticut jurisprudence have arisen close to home, right in the Danbury district. And just as an example, last year we had a fascinating discussion about the Devil Made Me Do It case, a famous murder trial from the 1970s, wherein the defendant claimed that he was demonically possessed at the time he committed the murder. This year, we're hoping to have a speaker who has similar stories and is engaged in the historical criminal area in Danbury. It's not final yet, so I don't want to give up all the details just in case something falls through. But whatever happens, everybody is going to be in for a great show.
It's in fact, when I first came to Danbury to practice law back in the 90s, it was a huge festivity attended by almost 100 people more. It was a very big event, and I think it's not quite attended as much as it used to be, but it's still a very important activity. And I think one of the most important things is the tour of the courthouse by the little kids. Don't you have like second and third graders in the morning session walking around the courthouse?
That's right. We usually have third grade students. It was traditionally the Ellis Avenue School that came, although we've also hosted St. Mary's from Bethel and a few other of the local elementary schools who get to tour the courthouse. They go into the clerk's offices. They go downstairs into the criminal lockup. They go through the courtrooms themselves and the judges' chambers. And it finally culminates where the judge will come out onto the bench. A marshal will open court just like a regular day of court. The children will have to stand up and sit down. And then they get to ask questions of the judiciary. And the best part of any law day field trip to the courthouse is where usually you can get a marshal to allow one of the students' teachers to try on the handcuffs that all the marshals are part of their regular kit. And there's no better experience for a third grader than to see their teacher in handcuffs. That's something most kids remember.
They also get some treats, I believe, which also makes it kind of fun for them. So the whole involvement of the community is a very important function. And I'm going to get to in a moment some of the special awards that are presented annually at the Law Day. But I do want to shout out a few people because aside from you running the Law Day program for several years and my doing so, two attorneys who have been heavily involved in Law Day historically in Danbury. One is the Honorable Wendy Grispin, who is now a judge. And I think she ran Law Day. It's at least 15, 20 years or more. And she was very instrumental in the Law Day program. And also attorney Sharon Dornfeld, who has been involved for many years in the Law Day. So there's been a lot of people involved in maintaining the tradition of protecting and enforcing the rule of law. John, the thing that I read, the quote I read from the ABA was important to me because it talked about how we, the people, we are all involved. We're all involved in preserving the rule of law and preserving our democracy. And one thing that they mentioned in their statement was jury service. And this may make you smile, but I'd say if I get the most questions I've probably gotten as a lawyer, that's not a case, but rather, hey, Bob, I don't want to do jury duty. How do you get me out of jury duty? And my response consistently is, I'm not going to get you out of jury duty. It is your obligation to go. But why? And I'll say, because someday you may have to go to court and you may be involved in a jury trial, either as a witness or as a participant in the case. And you're going to want to have people like your peers. And they say, Bob, you're a pain in the neck. And they go. And then when they come back from the jury duty, whether they're selected or not, they say, Bob, you were right. I actually have been called to jury duty. And people don't realize that lawyers also get called. And it's a different process in the federal court system, where they don't have individual voir dire. They have it as voir dire being picking the jury to make sure the jury pool doesn't have a conflict, to make sure that the plaintiff, the one who brought the lawsuit's cousin, isn't going to be in the panel. In state court, it's more it's individualized if you get to that stage. I've never been selected for a jury, but I did once in federal court. The judge who was up from Louisiana, filling in for another judge, said, "Number 77," that was me. "Stand up for a minute." "Yes, sir." "You look very famous. Are you famous? Are you someone who's famous to be on this jury?" I said, "Judge, I'm famous in my own eyes only." And the room clapped, and I did not get selected. So, John, have you ever been on a jury panel?
So I've never been selected, but like you, I have been called to jury duty a few times. And I agree with you. It is the obligation of us as citizens to serve on juries. And it couldn't be more important that the jury that is impaneled in any case, and I've picked several juries, are full of competent people who care about the outcome of the case and care about seeing justice done. Because similar to you, I've had people ask me, hey, how do I get out of this? Oh, I can't be bothered. I've got things to do. Everyone has things to do, but at the same time, oftentimes as lawyers, we will speak to jurors after they've rendered their verdict, and we're permitted to ask certain questions of jurors. And unanimously, I find that jurors feel fulfilled, a sense of service after they've completed their obligations on a jury. And there's really something to be said about it. It's seeing civics in action, and it's doing your part in a way that is unusual, but also, as I said, fulfilling.
John, typically, though, lawyers are not typically selected for a jury, and for a good reason. In fact, the jury cases I've done, I don't think I've ever selected someone who's a lawyer. And the reason that I wouldn't want a lawyer to be on the jury panel is that because you're a lawyer, someone's a lawyer, the other members of the jury panel may defer to the lawyer. And in a jury trial, the jurors decide the facts of the case, how they rule in that situation. The judge then tells the jurors what the law is, and the jurors have to apply the facts to the law. But typically speaking, I wouldn't want a lawyer on there, because I wouldn't want one person to dominate the decision. I actually was an expert witness in a case that was a jury case, and one of the jurors they were allowed to ask questions, and they said, "Mr. Opotzner," well, they got my name wrong, but Mr. O, can you please explain the law to me? And I'm looking at the judge. It was a Stanford case. I'm looking at the lawyers in the courtroom. I said, "Judge, I don't think you want me to answer the question, because the lawyers can tell what the law is. You can tell what the law is." Judge said, "No, Mr. Opotzner, answer their question." So I did. So for 40 minutes, I'm giving a lecture about the law. But that's a very unusual situation, John. John, can we transition into the particular awards that are given? Let's go one at a time. The awards given by the Danbury Bar Association in the Law Day activities.
Sure. Well, as further indication that Law Day really isn't about or limited to lawyers, but rather is about the role of individuals in our legal society. The Danbury Bar Association has historically given out 3 awards to individuals from all walks of life who really represent the values that we should all strive to as we operate within the legal framework of our society. The first one, which is the only one reserved to lawyers, is the Pro Bono Award. As likely most of your viewers know, pro bono means without recompense, and is given to a lawyer who, without any sort of money left or returned, represents clients out of essentially the goodness of their heart because they care deeply about the causes.
John, our law firm, Collins Hannafin, through Jack Garmella, won that award one year, many, many years ago, in the so-called wood chipper case, which was the case involving a person who murdered his wife and put the body through wood chipper. We represented a certain, I don't want to say who we represented involved, but it was protecting interests of people who needed protection. And we spent, I think hours and hours and hours, and that we felt very gratified to do that kind of thing. But so sometimes a law firm might get the award, sometimes it's individuals.
Yeah, that's true, but it's always a good cause. Anytime you give the pro bono award out, and there are many, many people who deserve this award, it's almost a shame that we only give it out annually. But so many members of the legal community contribute their time, their skill, and their professional acumen to these incredible and worthy causes. It's a real thrill to give that out. So
what's the next award, John?
The next one is called the Liberty Bell Award, and this is given annually to an individual who, while not being a lawyer, contributes to the rule of law in our society. And often that can mean individuals who work in the local government. Often it can mean members of the courthouse staff who go over and above or who have a lifetime of exemplary service aiding the operation of law in Danbury, or anyone who really goes over and above in helping civics. We've given it to police chiefs. We've given it to secretaries. We've given it to state marshals, state officials, members of the mayor's office. Just a tremendous list of laudable characters who, through their chosen profession or their use of their free time, have contributed to the rule of law in our society.
And the third one, which is my favorite, without diminishing the other two, this is my favorite.
The third one is the American Dream Award. The American Dream Award is given annually to an individual who represents the American dream, who by striving to overcome their own humble origins represents the American dream and what we've all come to believe is success, within our society and our legal framework. So that's been given to, in the past, judges. That's been given to individuals who are foreign born and who have immigrated and who have made a tremendous contribution to our society. That's been given to individuals who have overcome other hardships, whether those are physical handicaps, mental handicaps, circumstances of their birth or their standing in society, and have achieved great things in our community as a result of hard work, determination, and contributions to the rule of law.
When I was in charge of Law Day, and I still advocate this position, I'd like to see a fourth award be instituted, and that would be along the lines of the American Dream Award, but also not require the foreign-born aspect of it. And it's not to diminish with people who are foreign-born, but there are many people, for example, who have come from a very difficult background and somehow have created a life that is contributed to society and to the law. And I'll give you an example. This is not my nominating a particular candidate, but I did a show several weeks ago about foster children. And there's a lawyer in town named Rachel Levine who was a foster child. And she's been involved in the Ann Courtney Fund, which is to give help to people who are from foster families who have achieved success and positive aspects of their life. And I think we ought to expand that kind of award as a fourth award to again show recognition of what people do to contribute to the law and the rule of law in our society. John, would you please tell us, how are the winners of the three awards that now exist, how are they selected?
So the nominations are open to all members of the Greater Danbury Bar Association, as well as the judiciary of the Danbury Superior Court. Those nominations are compiled, and then the winners are determined based upon merit and votes by the board of the Danbury Bar Association. And that process is happening right now, and the winners should be picked sometime in mid-April. So any worthy contestants or nominees, their names should be brought to the attention of the Danbury Bar Association right away.
John, we have only 2 or 3 minutes left, and I want to get into a topic that is, in my opinion, directly related to the rule of law and to the activities that are being done by the Danbury Bar Association. I do a tip of the hat, tip of the chapeau to the association for maintaining this for many, many years. But there's a case called JGG et al. Versus Donald J. Trump. And I'm referring to, and that's many other people involved in that case. And it's against Mr. Donald Trump in his official capacity and his individual capacity. And that's the case that people more likely know about as being the case in which there were planes transporting alleged gang members from a Venezuelan gang to El Salvador. And there's a big fight now in the court system because there's a question of whether due process. John, what's due process?
So it's the procedures involved in any sort of the given procedures and the legal checks and balances that are necessary before anyone's rights are unreasonably or illegally deprived.
And so I mentioned this case because there is a dispute as to whether people who were taken in a very rough manner to the Venezuelans sent to El Salvador, and there's a fight now in the federal court that may go to the Supreme Court about whether a judge appointed unanimously, Democrats and Republicans in 2010 or 11 during the Bush administration, has the power to ask questions, to interrogate the executive branch of the government. Some people say, well, it involves gang members, let's get rid of them. No. The issue is not who is involved, but rather, do they get the people who were sent to El Salvador in this Venezuelan situation have the right to due process of law. We have only touched the case right now in this court, in this show, but I wanted to raise it because it's very important to the rule of law and the celebration of Law Day, May 1 of 2025. Again, the celebration will be the first Friday in May. And John Bowser, thank you very, very much for your activities. You're a very astute lawyer. You must have had a great mentor. Have a great John Bowser. Great day.
Thank you for having me.
Anyway, John, who was your mentor?
Some tall guy. He looked famous.
Take care. Have a nice day. This is Babel Pastor. Shalom.